My name is McKenna Watts, and this is my poster for my capstone presentation for my MSW. As you can see, the title of my project is Shame and Latter-day Saint Faith Transitions. I wanted to create a project that interviewed people who had transitioned out of the LDS church and evaluate their experience and look for shame in their process. So I feel like this is a really important piece of research to conduct because Utah is so densely populated with members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I felt like people that had transitions out of the faith were a little bit of a minority group. I wanted to be able to give voice to their experience. As I was doing some of my research, I realized that there wasn't a ton of literature out there about the post-Mormon experience. There was a lot of literature on shame and some literature on shame and religion, and then a little bit on the LDS experience. So it was really cool to be able to comb through a lot of these different articles and really piece together what I felt like the data was going to show. So for my survey, what I did is I took all of that research that was about shame and I created questions that I wanted to send out that were extremely tailored to the data so that I could create questions that would really evaluate shame. So those questions included things like, did you ever feel like you were flawed or like something was inherently wrong with you? Did you ever withdraw from people that you loved or that you cared about? Was there ever a time that you weren't honest about your experience? All of these situations are evidence that there is shame. So I sent out my survey to a post-Mormon Facebook group, and within 24 hours, I had 115 people fill out my survey. And I was so grateful for the amount of feedback that I got in my research. Looking through this data, as you can see, 94% of the participants felt that they were flawed or like something was wrong with them during their faith transition. I had many people speak to, they didn't feel like their sexuality was really accepted. They felt like they were different. They felt like they weren't receiving the religion in the same way that people around them were. And so that caused them to feel like something in them was broken. 95% of the participants said that at some point they withdrew from loved ones, whether that's family, friends, or neighbors. A lot of people mentioned that some of their relationships have been able to stay really strong and healthy, but a lot of them have had to stop with relationships because of the faith transition. Looking at the data, you can see that 90% of the participants shared that during their faith transition, they at some point were not honest, whether that was like outright lying or just withholding some of the truth. They didn't feel safe to share that that was what they were experiencing or what they were going through. So there was a lot of hiding and a lot of secrecy and a lot of just dishonesty. So all of those answers show that there is a heavy presence of shame. I think one of the most important parts of the data that I was able to receive is when I evaluated for the core beliefs that people believed about themselves during their faith transition and then after their faith transition. So during their faith transition, the negative core beliefs like I am a bad person, I am weak, or I am a disappointment scored really, really, really high. When compared to post-faith transition, those numbers drastically decrease. We've found an inverse response when we looked at the positive core beliefs. So during the faith transition, these positive core beliefs of I deserve to be happy or I am lovable were really low. But after the faith transition, these positive core beliefs were really high. So all of this data proves that there is high levels of shame in the LDS faith transition experience. The antidote to shame is vulnerability and connection. And so I really hope that data like this will help just create a more kind and embracing and open community so that people who are different, whether that be religiously or gender or age or sexual orientation or whatever that may be, can feel more accepted and less shamed. And I think that that starts with sharing the voices of people who don't necessarily fit into the norm of Utah or society or whatever that may look like. So I hope that you enjoy looking over the data. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much.